The station hung silently above a glowing pit. Lights reflected on the metal walls, but below, the pit shone with a strange blue energy. No one dared go near it. Aliens spoke of it in whispers. It was dangerous, deadly. A place where no living being had survived. Jared, a human maintenance worker, moved through the empty corridors. He carried a small toolkit and wore a worn jumpsuit. His job was simple: clean, fix, and make sure everything ran smoothly. Humans were rare on this station, often ignored or treated like helpers. Jared didn't mind. He liked working quietly, watching the stars through the tall windows, and fixing things no one else wanted to touch. Suddenly, a sound echoed through the halls. A small cry, faint but sharp. Jared stopped. The sound came from the direction of the pit. He froze for a moment, listening. The aliens around him were panicking. Guards shouted warnings and some ran to the edge, peering over. "Stay back," one alien shouted. "It is the pit. No one survives." Jared didn't move away. The cry was soft but urgent. It was the sound of a child. His heart pounded. He had heard of the pit's legends, how it burned everything alive, how its energy could swallow creatures without a trace. And yet, he saw the small shape clinging to a ledge near the edge. It was an alien child, barely big enough to hold on. Its tiny hands grasped the slippery stone, eyes wide with fear. "Don't worry," Jared whispered to himself. He didn't wait for permission. He didn't think about dying. He only thought about the child. The guard screamed and tried to stop him. "Jared, don't," one shouted, reaching for him. But Jared was already moving. He ran toward the edge, his boots clanging on metal. Time slowed. The child's hands were slipping. 1 second more and it would fall. Without hesitation, Jared jumped. The world tilted. Blue light surrounded him and a strange warmth spread through his body. He reached out and grabbed the child just as it slipped. They fell together, but instead of crashing, the pit seemed to soften around them. Energy swirled like water, wrapping them in a gentle glow. It was not cold. It was not fire. It was something else, something alive. Jared held the child close. Its tiny body trembled in his arms. He looked down into the glowing depths. Fear and wonder filled him at the same time. He had jumped into what should have been certain death, and yet they floated. The pit hummed softly, almost like it was watching. For a moment, everything was silent. Then the child whispered in a soft, alien language. Jared didn't understand the words, but he felt the meaning. "Thank you. You saved me." He tried to speak, but no words came. He only held the child tighter, feeling a strange heat in his chest. It was brief, a small burn, but it left him shaking. He didn't know why, but it felt important. He closed his eyes, letting the glow surround him. Minutes passed, or maybe hours. Time felt different here. The glow seemed to know him, and it seemed to know the child. It did not harm them. Instead, it carried them slowly upward, lifting them away from the deep pit. Finally, they landed on a soft platform far below the station's main deck. The child clung to him, frightened but safe. Jared looked around. The platform was smooth, glowing with the same soft blue light. Strange symbols were etched into the walls. They pulsed faintly as if alive. Jared had never seen anything like this. He had only read about it in ancient station legends. Aliens arrived shortly after, cautiously stepping onto the platform. Their eyes widened as they saw both Jared and the child unharmed. Murmurs spread among them. No human had ever survived the pit. The child looked up at Jared with wide, trusting eyes. The aliens whispered in awe and fear. Something extraordinary had happened here. Jared did not understand it either. All he knew was that he had acted without thinking and somehow they were alive. The heat in his chest remained, faint but persistent. It made him nervous. He looked down at the small child. "You're safe," he said softly. "I won't let anything happen to you." The aliens around them exchanged glances. The council would want to see this. Something had changed. Something had chosen Jared. But he did not care about the council or the legends or the glowing symbols. Right now, all that mattered was the child and the fact that he had jumped when no one else would. For the first time, Jared realized that the station was bigger, stranger, and more alive than he had ever imagined. And somehow he was a part of it now. The pit had not destroyed him. It had given him a purpose he could not yet understand. As he held the child, the glow faded slowly. The warmth in his chest remained, like a small fire waiting to grow. And deep inside he felt the stirrings of something new, something that would change him forever. Jared carried the alien child carefully through the glowing platform. The child clung to him tightly, small hands gripping his jumpsuit. His breathing was fast, but it did not cry anymore. Jared felt a mix of relief and confusion. He had jumped into the pit expecting death, but instead they had landed in a place that seemed alive. The walls around them pulsed softly as if breathing. Strange lights shimmered across the surfaces, moving like tiny rivers. Jared had never seen anything like it. Symbols that looked like dragons and stars glowed faintly on the walls. They shifted as he moved, almost as if the walls were aware of him. He did not know whether to be afraid or amazed. The child looked around, eyes wide with wonder. It made small noises, pointing at the glowing symbols. Jared smiled. He did not understand the language, but he knew it was pointing out the beauty of this place. For the first time he felt calm. The pit had not hurt them. It had brought them here, and somehow this strange place wanted to protect them. A soft hum filled the air. Jared felt it through his body. The sound was low but powerful. It made his chest tingle where the heat from before had burned him. He touched the spot and felt a faint warmth, almost like a pulse. He looked at the child. Its small chest also pulsed slightly as if connected to him. He did not understand how, but he could feel the child's fear and curiosity at the same time. "Stay close," Jared whispered. He did not know if the child could understand him, but it seemed to listen. Together they walked forward, following the glowing path. The platform stretched on, leading to a large chamber at the center of the pit. The chamber was enormous, with a ceiling that glimmered like the night sky. Strange energy flowed in streams along the floor, casting shadows that danced on the walls. Jared noticed that the symbols on his chest were faintly glowing now, brighter than before. The heat from the burn had spread slightly, not painful but alive. He felt it react whenever the child moved or when he thought about protecting it. It was strange and frightening at the same time. He did not know what this meant, but he knew it was important. The chamber had no doors, no windows, only light and hum. Jared set the child down gently. It looked at him and smiled. A small sound escaped the child's lips, a word Jared could not understand. But the meaning was clear: "Thank you." He knelt down and smiled back. "I've got you," he said softly. "I won't let anything happen to you." Suddenly the energy in the chamber shifted. The hum grew louder, vibrating through the platform. The glowing streams of light moved faster, circling around them. Jared felt a pull, not downward but inward. It was as if the chamber itself was studying them. He instinctively held the child closer. The warmth in his chest grew brighter, stronger. It burned, but not in pain, more like a signal. A mark was forming, invisible to his eyes, but alive in his body. The child squealed softly, pointing at Jared's chest. He looked down and saw faint patterns of light dancing under his skin. The heat pulsed rhythmically, matching the hum of the chamber. It was alive. Something ancient and powerful had touched him. He felt awe and fear together. How could a human survive this? How could he be chosen? Then, without warning, the energy swirled faster. It lifted Jared slightly off the ground. The child was lifted too, held safely in his arms. The chamber seemed to be testing him, pushing him, asking questions without words. He felt a rush of emotion, fear, determination, and a strange calm. He focused only on keeping the child safe. Nothing else mattered. The energy responded. Streams of light slowed, forming a protective cocoon around them. Jared felt a strength he had never known. It was not muscle or speed but a presence. A knowing that he had to protect, care, and be brave. The chamber was teaching him. He did not understand yet, but he could feel it. Time passed differently inside the chamber. Minutes might have been hours. The child stayed close, trusting him completely. Jared began to realize that the pit was not a place of death. It was a place of choice. It had tested his courage, his selflessness, and his heart. By jumping, he had proven he could be trusted. Finally, the energy began to fade. The streams of light slowed, the hum quieted, and the warmth in his chest became steady. The child blinked, happy and safe. Jared felt the burn on his chest cool slightly, leaving only a faint pulse beneath his skin. Something permanent had changed. The mark was inside him now, waiting, watching, and alive. Jared looked around. The chamber was quiet, glowing faintly, almost as if it were smiling. He picked up the child and moved toward a ramp that led back to the station's main corridors. Aliens would soon find them. He did not know what would happen next, but he felt ready. Something had chosen him today, something ancient and powerful. As they climbed, Jared whispered softly to the child, "We made it. You're safe now. I promise." The child hugged him tightly. For the first time in his life, Jared felt that being human meant more than just survival. It meant courage, care, and the willingness to act when others would freeze. Above the chamber, the station continued its routine, unaware of what had just happened below. But Jared and the child carried something new, something that could change not only their lives but the fate of many others. The pit had tested them. The pit had chosen them. And somewhere deep inside, a dragon mark waited, ready to awaken when the time came. Jared carried the alien child back to the station's main corridors. The child's small hands clung to him, and its eyes shone with curiosity and trust. Jared could still feel the faint warmth in his chest, the mark that had burned briefly in the pit. It pulsed slightly whenever danger or stress came near, though he did not understand it. When they reached the central bay, a group of alien scientists and guards rushed forward. Their expressions were a mix of shock, fear, and disbelief. No human had ever survived the pit, and certainly not while saving one of their young. Whispers spread quickly through the crowd. "What? How?" an alien scientist asked. His voice shook. "The pit, it should have taken him." Jared stayed calm. He held the child protectively and looked at the gathered aliens. "The child is safe," he said quietly. "That's all that matters." The aliens stared at him. They scanned the child, who was unharmed, and then they scanned Jared. Machines whirred, lights flickered, and soft alarms sounded. Data streamed across screens, revealing something that made every alien gasp. A symbol glowed faintly on Jared's chest. It was a dragon mark, ancient and legendary. The symbol pulsed with a strange light, moving slightly as if alive. Some aliens whispered in fear. Others stepped back, unsure whether to approach. This cannot be," another scientist said. "Humans cannot carry the dragon mark. It is forbidden. It is impossible." Jared did not fully understand it himself. He had felt the heat in his chest, the pulsing warmth, and the strange energy in the pit. But a permanent mark? He did not know what it meant. He only knew that it had appeared when he acted without thinking to save the child. The child tugged at his arm, pointing to the glowing symbol. Its small voice made soft sounds that Jared could not understand. He smiled and nodded. "I don't know what it is yet," he said softly. "But we'll figure it out together." The station council was called immediately. They were older aliens, leaders of the station, and they arrived with caution. When they saw the dragon mark, their eyes widened. They whispered among themselves. This mark had been seen in legends, stories of guardians who had protected galaxies long ago. No human, or any ordinary being, had ever carried one. "Is he dangerous?" one council member asked. "The pit does not give its power lightly. Why has it chosen a human?" Jared shook his head. "I'm not dangerous. I only wanted to save the child." He felt the heat in his chest pulse again, faster this time, as if the mark agreed with him. The council was silent for a long moment. Then one of the oldest aliens spoke. "It chooses not by species, not by strength, not by title. It chooses by the courage in one's heart." He jumped when others hesitated. "That is why he bears the mark." Jared looked down at the child. Its eyes were wide and trusting. He realized something important. This mark was not a weapon. It was a responsibility. Something alive had chosen him to protect, to care, to act when no one else would. The scientists ran more tests. They scanned the mark, measured energy levels, and recorded its patterns. It glowed brighter when Jared moved, pulsed with his emotions, and seemed to respond to his will. He could not control it consciously, but he felt it protecting the child. Every time he thought of keeping the child safe, the warmth grew stronger. Jared began to understand. The mark was not just a symbol, it was a living bond. It connected him to something ancient, something that had watched over the galaxy long before humans or aliens had even existed. The pit had been a test, and he had passed. By acting without fear, by choosing courage over safety, he had been chosen. The council deliberated. They decided that Jared would be allowed to remain on the station, under observation, but treated with respect. He was no longer just a human worker. He was someone unique, a bridge between species, a protector chosen by an ancient power. Jared did not feel proud or special. He only felt responsibility. The mark pulsed faintly beneath his skin, reminding him of the bond he now carried. He held the child tightly and whispered softly, "I won't let anything happen to you." The warmth in his chest spread slightly, like a silent promise from the mark itself. The child laughed softly, a sound that made Jared's heart ache with joy. He realized that life on the station would never be the same. Humans had been underestimated for too long. They were not the strongest. They were not the fastest. But they were capable of courage, care, and sacrifice in ways the galaxy had forgotten. The council left, still whispering about the impossible human who bore the dragon mark. The scientists continued their research, fascinated but cautious. Jared and the child were left alone for a brief moment. He looked down at the glowing symbol, feeling its warmth pulse against his chest. It was a small flame now, steady and calm. But he knew it could grow. The pit had given him this power, and one day, it might ask more from him. For now, though, he had only one task: keep the child safe and act with courage whenever it was needed. Jared smiled at the child. "We'll be okay," he said. "I don't know what comes next, but we'll face it together." The child nodded and hugged him tightly. The dragon mark pulsed gently like it agreed. For the first time, Jared realized something important. Being human was not about being strong. It was about choosing to act when it mattered most. And in the heart of a glowing pit, surrounded by ancient power, a human had done exactly that. The pit had tested him. The dragon mark had chosen him. And the galaxy was about to notice that humans could be more than anyone had imagined. Life on the station returned to its normal rhythm, but Jared could feel that nothing was the same. The alien child stayed close, always watching him. The dragon mark on his chest pulsed softly, reminding him that something ancient and powerful had chosen him. He did not know why yet, but he felt ready to protect whenever it was needed. Weeks passed, and Jared worked quietly, repairing systems, cleaning corridors, and helping the child learn the station's ways. The aliens around him were cautious but respectful. Some still whispered about the dragon mark and the impossible human who had survived the pit. Others watched with curiosity, wondering if the mark would do more than glow beneath his skin. One morning, the station's alarms rang sharply. Lights flashed red. The shields surrounding the station weakened, and a loud hum echoed through the corridors. A power surge had struck the outer energy grid. The station shook slightly and the aliens panicked. Jared felt the dragon mark burn more strongly than ever. Heat spread through his chest, fast and alive. He instinctively put a hand over it. The mark pulsed as if it were alive, ready to respond. He grabbed the child and moved toward the nearest observation deck. The alien staff froze, unsure what he would do. "We need to stabilize the grid," a scientist shouted. "If the shields fail, the station could be damaged." Jared did not answer with words. He focused on the warmth in his chest. He thought of the child, of all the people on the station, of the need to protect. The mark pulsed faster. He felt energy flow through him, not dangerous but alive and responsive. He reached out toward the energy panels, and a faint glow extended from his chest. The panels lit up with the same blue energy as the pit. The humming grew, matching the rhythm of his heartbeat. The alien scientist stared in shock. The energy from the mark connected to the station's systems. Lights flickered, wires glowed, and slowly power stabilized. Shields hummed back to life, stronger than before. Jared did not understand fully what he had done, only that he had acted without fear and the station responded. The child clapped softly, making happy noises. Jared smiled down at it. "It's okay," he whispered. "We're safe." The warmth in his chest slowly calmed, leaving only a steady glow. The council arrived soon after, moving quickly through the corridors. They had heard about the surge and the strange response from the human. When they saw the glowing mark and the stabilized systems, they could not hide their astonishment. "He did this?" one council member asked, pointing at Jared. "The human? Alone?" Jared nodded slightly, holding the child close. "I did what I could," he said simply. "I just wanted to protect everyone." The council spoke quietly among themselves. "It chooses not for strength," one elder said, "but for courage and care. He is worthy." The scientists ran tests again, fascinated by the interaction. They recorded how the mark reacted, how it seemed to connect with the station's energy, and how it responded to Jared's thoughts of protection. It was unlike anything they had ever seen. The dragon mark was alive, powerful, and responsive to pure intention. Jared spent the next days quietly helping the station recover from minor failures. Each time a system faltered, the mark pulsed gently, guiding him to the right panels, the right switches. The station had come to rely on him, but no one pressured him. They knew the mark had chosen him, and that meant respect, not control. The child learned quickly, exploring the station safely with Jared nearby. Their bond grew stronger. Whenever the child wandered too far, the mark pulsed faintly, warning him. Jared began to understand that it was not just a symbol, it was a living connection, a reminder of responsibility and care. One evening, Jared stood by a window looking at the stars. The station hummed quietly around him, its system stable and safe. He felt the heat in his chest, soft now, steady. The dragon mark had tested him, had responded to him, and had begun teaching him what it meant to be chosen. The child climbed onto his shoulders, pointing at a distant planet. Jared smiled. "One day we'll see more," he said. "One day we'll learn everything the mark wants us to know." The council continued to monitor him, not with fear but with curiosity and respect. Other humans on the station began to see Jared differently. He was no longer just a worker. He was someone chosen by ancient power, someone capable of protecting, guiding, and inspiring. Jared realized that being human was more than survival. It was courage, compassion, and the willingness to act even when the outcome was uncertain. The dragon mark was a reminder that humans could be extraordinary when they chose to be. The pit had tested him. The mark had chosen him. And now, the station had seen that a single human could make a difference. Jared held the child close and whispered, "Whatever comes next, we face it together." The mark pulsed softly like a heartbeat, agreeing silently. Outside the station, the galaxy continued its endless spin, unaware that a small human and a child had begun something new, something that might one day change everything. The dragon mark waited patiently, knowing the time for its true power would come. But for now it was enough that courage had awakened. Days passed on the station, but Jared felt that something had shifted. The dragon mark pulsed faintly beneath his skin, a quiet reminder of the choice the pit had made. He had learned that the mark responded not to force, not to strength but to courage, care, and selfless action. He had survived the impossible, saved the child, and the mark had chosen him as its guardian. Life on the station continued, but now humans were no longer seen as small or weak. Scientists and aliens watched Jared closely, studying how the mark worked, but also seeing that his heart and determination were as important as the symbol itself. The aliens began to treat him with respect, but Jared did not seek attention. He only wanted the child to be safe, to grow, and to learn about the station. The child followed him everywhere, chattering in its own language, pointing out small details of the station that Jared had never noticed. Sometimes the child would touch his chest over the mark and smile. Each time Jared felt warmth spread from the mark. He realized the mark did not only respond to danger, it responded to hope, trust, and care. One day the station received a communication from a distant colony. Their energy shields were failing, and they were in danger of losing contact with the nearby planets. The council called a meeting. Scientists explained that the station systems could be extended to help stabilize the colony's shields, but it required precise timing and careful energy management. Jared stood quietly at the edge of the room, the child at his side. The dragon mark pulsed faintly, reminding him that he was connected to something greater. The council looked at him with a mixture of awe and expectation. It was clear they trusted him to help. "Are you ready?" one elder asked. Jared nodded. He did not feel special. He only felt responsibility. "I will do what I can," he said simply. The energy systems of the station hummed as he approached the controls. The mark pulsed brighter, responding to his calm focus. He reached out, guided by the warmth in his chest. Streams of energy flowed from the station toward the distant colony, guided by the dragon mark. The lights on the screens blinked in perfect timing, shields stabilized, and the colony's alarms quieted. Aliens around him whispered in amazement. Humans had been underestimated for centuries, but Jared had proven that courage and selflessness could awaken power thought lost or impossible. He felt the mark pulse gently, approvingly. It was not about showing off or being strong. It was about choosing to act when it mattered most. After the colony systems were stabilized, Jared stepped back, letting the energy return to normal. The council came forward, speaking softly but with respect. "He has proven that humans can be trusted with the ancient power," one elder said. "It is not the species but the heart that matters." Jared smiled at the child. "We did it," he whispered. The child laughed and hugged him tightly. The warmth in his chest pulsed softly, steady and calm. The mark had chosen him, but it had also chosen humanity's potential, showing that humans could be guardians, protectors, and allies to all in the galaxy. Word of Jared's actions spread quietly. Other humans on the station felt pride and courage. They began to take more initiative, helping, learning, and protecting wherever they could. They understood that the pit had not chosen him because he was strong. It had chosen him because he acted with courage and care. The dragon mark continued to pulse beneath his skin. It was a constant reminder that one person could make a difference, that selflessness and bravery were more powerful than fear or hesitation. Jared did not know when the mark's full power would awaken, but he understood that he had a role to play, and that role was ongoing. One evening, Jared stood with the child on a high balcony, looking out at the stars. The station hummed softly beneath them. "The galaxy is bigger than we imagined," he said. "And one day we'll see more of it. Together." The child nodded, eyes shining with wonder. The council and scientists continued to study the mark, but they learned an important lesson. It was not meant to control but to guide, and it responded to courage. Humans had proven that they could rise to the challenge, and the dragon mark had awakened the potential in Jared to show the way. Jared held the child close and felt the pulse of the mark steady against his chest. It was not dangerous, not frightening, only alive and aware. He realized that the pit, the mark, and the challenge had all been a test. The test was not about power, it was about the quiet strength to do what was right even when it was hard. The station continued its work, systems glowing safely, aliens and humans alike learning to trust each other. Jared remained humble, helping wherever needed, always guided by the warmth and pulse of the dragon mark. It reminded him of the lesson the pit had taught: courage, care, and selfless action could awaken strength beyond imagination. And so, humanity quietly began to awaken in the galaxy. Not with weapons or domination, but with courage, compassion, and a willingness to act when it mattered most. Jared and the child continued their journey together, stepping carefully but confidently into the future. The dragon mark pulsed gently, a silent promise that the time would come when humans could show their true potential to the stars. The galaxy had taken notice. Not with fear but with quiet respect. A human had jumped into a pit to save a child, and in doing so, had awakened something ancient and powerful. The mark would wait, but humanity's courage would no longer be underestimated. And in that moment, Jared understood something simple, yet profound. Being human was not about strength, speed, or size. It was about courage, heart, and the choice to act when it mattered most. The dragon mark pulsed one last time that evening, steady and calm as if agreeing. The pit had tested him, the mark had chosen him, and humanity's quiet awakening had begun.